Hi there, welcome to Narrowboat Natterings. Here I am pottering along the Coventry Canal, and I thought just a chance to come down and have a chat to you about what I'm about to create. I've had a few requests, I had to get the odd request, you see, to do a bit more of my sort of historic documentary type things. I guess instead of me fooling around with Mrs. Lumsden, go and get a bit more serious and do a bit of research. So that's great. I love doing that sort of stuff, and if people ask me for that, then brilliant. I thought, okay, what subject matter can I come up with? Well, as you know, I'm a big lover of the BCN, the Birmingham Canal Navigation, and what intrigues me most of all about the BCN is its relative height, where it sits, you know, geography-wise. It doesn't kind of make sense to have a canal network on top of quite a relatively high plateau. How on earth does that happen? You know, how does it work? How can it cope with boats continually taking water down? Because wherever you come out of Birmingham, you've got to come down. So it sits on top. So it's not got mountain and hill regions around it that are higher than it. So it has to get its water from somewhere. So I thought, let me have a little look at the man-made reservoirs that have been created, you know, 200 odd years ago, to feed the need for water. So I'm going to look at Chasewater, I'm going to look at the Edgbaston Reservoir, and I'm going to look at Titford Pools. So all of those are very unique in their own right. Chasewater is really actually quite close to where we live, in Staffordshire. So probably, as the crow flies, probably 4 miles, something like that. It's very close. It's about the northernmost point of the BCN. Edgbaston Reservoir, smack bang in the city centre. So that's interesting in itself. And then Titford Pools is probably the most interesting of all. But I think I'd like to actually get the boat up there, which is no mean feat for me to sort of get from Armitage into the centre of Birmingham, out again and then up to Titford. But nevertheless, I think it's one I want to do. So that might be a little bit later in the year. But anyway, I hope you enjoy this. So let me introduce you to the first one of the series, and this is Chasewater. Hi there, here I am in Chasewater, Staffordshire, sort of to the northwest of Birmingham, I suppose, more to the black countryside of Birmingham. Now, Chasewater was created in 1797 as a direct feeder into the canal system. That was purely what it was needed for. And it fed into the Worley and Estonton Canal, and ultimately that therefore then fed the whole of the Birmingham Canal Navigations. It was all part of keeping those water levels maintained. There was some 160 miles worth of canals back in those days, so it was a fair old task. Originally known as Norton Pool, Chasewater sits at 499 feet above sea level. So the reservoir was created by damming several inflows of water. You had Chasewater Brook, you had Norton Brook, you had Little Crane Brook, and you had Big Crane Brook. And it required 2 dams. And the dams were created across the eastern and the western aspect. The other land around that would have been high enough to support the water. Now, as you can see, it's a massive piece of water. It's the 3rd largest stretch of water within Staffordshire. It has a 270-acre surface area. Its average depth is 11 foot, and its maximum depth is 37 foot. It holds 4.4 billion litres of water. So the wildlife around here is absolutely fabulous. It's beautiful. There's so much diversity. It's incredible. I know it's classed as one of these areas of natural beauty, I think, and something to do with some areas of biological importance and things like that. So it's really sort of done well for itself. It's been protected, it's been looked after. It's fab. Only 2 years after the reservoir was created, so 1799, there was a breach. There was a storm overnight, too much water in the reservoir, spilled over, eroded the soil bankment, and then started to collapse internally. Flooded for miles. It even flooded Shenston, which is kind of Lichfield way, probably 5 miles. Killed lots of cattle, livestock. People had to be compensated. So they had to rebuild the dam, they had to build it stronger. So the dams were created by digging out a hole, so we've got greater depth, so therefore bigger capacity of water, and using those spoils to actually create the bank. Chasewater remains the largest reservoir that still feeds a canal network. So the reservoir is indeed still active as a canal feeder, but in this world of leisure pursuits, it's probably of more use now to the community in that it's a great source of enjoyment and escape. It's got so much here. You've got information boards, heritage centres. There's a crazy golf course. There are powerboat clubs, sailing communities, children's playgrounds. There are other water sports, including open water swimming, inflatables. There are aerial ropeways, cafes, and of course there's the obvious space for runners, cyclists, anglers, and many, many wildlife trails and bird spotting opportunities. It really is a vast piece of water. You can see how important the canals were back in the day. There were so many collieries out this way. They needed to get that coal into the cities, into the foundries. But yeah, but then also, you know, you can see how high we are, stood on top of this wall now. You know, there's a massive view over there, and though it doesn't particularly show it on the camera, that's quite a steep bank there, looking down over that. And here you can see a significant overspill setup and very wide channel here, and I guess that's to avoid the reservoir ever overtopping again in the future. Plenty of water to be able to get down here, and at this point you can see where that then flows down and into the Anglesey Branch Canal. So back in 1797, the only way they could get water into the Worley and Essington Canal was via a 1.5 mile long channel that had to be dug out from the base of the reservoir, base of the dam, all the way to Ogley Junction, 1.5 miles away. Then in 1847, the Marquis of Anglesey planned to open a series of pits in the immediate area of the reservoir. The first one being what was known as the Hammerwich Pit. So in 1848, work began on the Anglesey Branch, basically by digging out the original little channel. They created a wider, deeper, more navigable cut, and that allowed the pit owners to have immediate transport of the coal from the surrounding area of Chasewater. So it made sense, because they'd found a colliery here, they'd dug down to a seam, that they could get it onto boats straight away. So this is the Anglesey Branch. This is the very end of the Anglesey Branch. I guess there would have been a conveyor coming from over there somewhere, and then drop your boat underneath, fill it up. Lovely, discovered. I've just spotted this. So previously, when people had referred to the Anglesey Branch, the Anglesey Canal, I strangely thought that it was just an old canal that once upon a time went to Anglesey. I don't know how I actually thought that was going to happen. But anyway, it turns out that it's all named after the dear old Marquis. This is Anglesey Basin, and I think it's often recognised as the northern extent of the BCN, but I actually wonder if that title goes to where our boat We May has its own mooring on the old detached section of the Worley and Essington at Huddlesford Junction. That section of the canal, one day in the future, will be known as the Lichfield Canal, cutting its way back through to Ogley Junction. I now have to get my boat up here, because this is like one of those real significant termini. But yeah, what a fantastic place. And that one boat that's right just under the dam, at the base of the dam, what a lovely little pitch that is, what a mooring. So yeah, beautiful.